It's not that I didn't like the game, but I'm like, as a reviewer, are you being biased by being particular? I don't know. Like your own, preference is like, hey, do you? Is it
Well,
going to be weird?
I don't know. If the game was sufficiently good enough, I would play it like on my own without doing it as a reviewer.
You gotta do that again.
You know what yours is, Cychronic?
What?
Top 3 RPGs makers.
Top 3 RPG Maker games?
Mm-hmm.
No, top 3 RPG games, wasn't it?
Straight
No,
up
RPG. Yeah, RPGs.
Yeah.
That's really hard. It's really hard to tell. There's a lot. There's quite a few that I really liked.
I think I got mine though. All right, well, what's top 1? You got top 1?
I really liked Suikoden 2. That was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, Suikoden.
I also liked Xenogears. I also really liked what else? I don't know. I got to go back through my list. It's like I forget about them and then I remember them again, and then I'm like, oh, how could I forget?
My top RPG is probably Dragon Quest 11.
Oh yeah, the Dragon Quest games. I always found them very boring for some reason.
Dragon Quest 11.
I thought it was boring too at first. Yeah.
Not no retro game. Are you serious?
Yeah, no. Like, problem is, they on my list of games that I like, but that's one thing that Dragon Quest did was like be better, right?
Yeah.
Like they were actually better, so it ended up being the latest one, being the best one. Yeah, but I like. Second under Dragon Quest 11 is Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross, not Chrono Trigger.
I can't get into Chrono Cross. I'm sorry.
And I think a lot of people can't because of the way it starts. And then there's,
I liked it. I liked Chrono Trigger more, but I did like Chrono Cross.
Yeah, I love the music Chrono Cross.
Too many characters for me. Like,
then Suiko didn't have a lot of characters too.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah, but you know, Suikoden characters.
You like
made
Suikoden
sense.
though.
Suikoden characters made
a
sense.
whole army of people.
Yeah.
But and my last one, shit, my bad. I know I'm cutting off the whole intro and shit.
You good? I mean, we're live though. We're live, so people they're gonna get a little tidbit. You know, little. What's the top 3 RPG Maker games of all time? So, all right, guys, we're not gonna dilly-dally too much. Welcome to the Rarely Typical Players podcast once again. You know me, D7, and my other host, Marlon Unjaded, and the Cychronic Gamer, aka Cychronic Games. Once again, we bring to you another RPG Maker. I believe this was made with MV this time. A game called Sealed Fortress. Sealed Fortress. What is this game about? Anybody want to read the quick synopsis real quick?
Oh, I got you. So, let me back up. Sealed Fortress demo, you can find it on itch.io/sealed fortress-demo. The synopsis on the page goes as follows. The Lady of the Red Mask, Precious Fallen Star, has been missing for half a decade now. 5 years. Its location has been known, but no one has managed to breach the powerful seal, keeping it inside the last fortress of the bygone Velithian Empire. That is until now. Sealed Fortress is a dungeon-crawling RPG in which you take a party of 3 through the treacherous halls of a castle corrupted by wild magic. Facing dangerous monsters, finding treasure, and sharing soup together are all part of the adventure. I guess a couple of highlights of the game. Low numbers, tense battle system. Unlock abilities by equipping gear found in the dungeon. Exploration and resource management is key. Soup. Around 3 hours estimated playtime. There we go with that.
All right, so Sealed Fortress. And just like every podcast, we're going to cover story, game mechanics, whatever, any element that makes a game, whether it's made with RPG Maker or any, you know, higher tier development tool like Unity or whatnot. But you know, we're dealing with RPG Maker. Just because you're dealing with RPG Maker and developing with RPG Maker doesn't mean you cannot make a top tier game or a good game. So
Cool.
first of all, I do like the cover art. Cover art looks really good. I've been thinking the whole time, was this custom or was it maybe some type of asset pack where it already had character art or whatnot, or it could be the dreaded AI art. I don't know, but it does look really good. It may be custom drawn by the developer. I'm not sure. What you guys think about the cover art?
I'm gonna assume
it looks like it's hand drawn.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then like scanned in and then touched up,
Yeah, it looks really good. Definitely reminds me of what's that? You got one character look like it's a cat, or are they all animals? I don't know, but definitely. Hold on, I gotta change.
I think the dev has a Twitter where they do art.
I'm sorry, guys. I gotta.
And they draw the characters and stuff like that.
Let me remove this. I got to change that. But so the developer is an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it makes sense. So, all right. So, as you guys already know, me, Unjaded, and Cychronic had a week to play this game, to explore the game and its mechanics, and to basically give you guys a report of what we have come through. So basically, with three individuals somehow went on a quest to retrieve the fallen star that belongs to the lady of the red mask, who's been disappeared for a decade. I mean, half a decade, right? Which is 5 years. And inside of the castle, the cursed castle, is it a curse? Yeah, the cursed castle. There's monsters and whatnot strong, around you. So, Tychronic, do you want to take it away? What you got out the game story. Maybe elaborate.
Okay. So the story is pretty light, I'd say. It's like there is a story there, and there's like kind of like some lore attached to it and stuff, but it's not like force fed or anything. So most of what I gathered was from the item that was called like what was it called? It was called like instructions or something. Manual. It was called Manual 1 and Manual 2. So that in Manual 1 it talked about the characters and the place. So the fortress is also known as the Stone Coffin, last bastion of the Velithian Empire, sealed by Archfey of the Twin Roads. The mission is to retrieve that fallen star, the powerful jewel or whatever it is. The characters, we got Plum, a skill summoner and scholar in the court of the Lady of the Red Mask. We got Bess, is from a band of thieves known as the Hand of Minal. She wants gold in exchange for her expertise. And Lori is disgraced as a warden when a previous charge died under her watch. So these three characters, I guess, are there for different reasons, but they have the same goal. And then basically the game starts off in a dungeon, like it is a dungeon crawler. And then from there, you're just you talk to this, you go into the next room and you're talking to this other person who's there and is like making soup or whatever, and you have like a relaxing time around the fire, and then you're basically like, okay, we're gonna go further into the dungeon now. And then the players kind of left to just wander around any direction they want with different items that can maybe like unlock certain doors, things like that. And then there's battles along the way where you need to go through a certain way and an enemy is blocking the door until you fight the enemy. And then you also have some enemies that come chase you down. And yeah, so I mean, that's basically what I got out of the story. I feel like it felt kind of light as far as like it wasn't very narrative heavy.
Yeah.
I think. So yeah, that's kind of what I got out of it.
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of story lore wise. Even during the gameplay, you didn't really get a lot of lore. The only thing that you really know is if you know that you are after the fallen star. That's all you got. So the demo basically wasn't, you know, designed to tell the story in full, but just to give you a quick synopsis what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like, we don't really know nothing about the characters. We don't know where they're from. We don't know where they originated from. Like, there's really nothing in depth like to really get us interested into these characters. You know, they're just there. One is a mage, a summoner, and a scholar, and one is a thief, you know, and one is a knight, a warder, a knight. So basically, you know, you got your three different classes. One that heal each other. You know, one is a mage or a healer. The other one's a tank. You know, and you know the one that is a tank and do the most damage. Then you got one is quick and agility and stuff like that. But in this game, none of that even matters. None of that even matters, you know, your stat wise, your agility wise, because they always go in order per turn. But we'll talk about that when we cover the mechanics and the battle system stuff. But story wise, that's basically it. You know, like once you read the synopsis, that's all you're gonna get. Now, when it comes to trying to sell a demo, right, I feel like story should be at least 60% of trying to sell your demo. This demo don't have that. It don't have that 60%. It don't even have 30%, to be honest. So what you think about the story, Unjaded? Like, what do you feel like it should be stronger? Should the player who's playing it get a little bit more about what's going on, and maybe, you know, other characters that really may, you know, invest in peak interest for the player? What do you think?
Yeah, so yeah, going into choosing this game, I feel like I really have to mention that this is the reason why I suggested reviewing a couple of games at a time, because this game, when I picked it up and I played it, I said, hey, this game has a lot of what I would like in an RPG, but it is lacking a lot that is probably expected to be in an RPG. So with that said, I already knew going in there was no story. I almost was like really contemplating, considering like having not applicable to the story for this demo, to reviewing it, because the story wasn't fleshed out. Like there's elements, and you can like see the elements throughout some of the game, because there's like that book that you can go through in the items, and you can read the specific notes about the characters and stuff like that. But you're just playing the game to kind of get a feel of what the it's almost like a really thin vertical slice of the gameplay of the game, which is why I chose it to review. But I already knew it was like lacking there. And as far as like adding story, I feel like it's if you ever play like Dark Souls or something like that, like they don't give you story in the way that you would traditionally get a story. Long cutscenes, different dialogue choices, and things like that. You get it from the item descriptions. You get it from the experience that your player goes through. So it's kind of up to the developer to kind of figure out what their direction is going to be, and to that effect, I'm really like leaning on getting, you know, the direction of the developer, right? So whatever the direction of the developer is, that's where I'm going to judge the story. So that's kind of where I stand with it. Like, for instance, if a game starts out with a once upon a time there was 3 characters, right? A lot of RPG Maker games we've been reviewing, or past games in general, I'm not going to just specify RPG Maker games that we reviewed, they start off with a lengthy cutscene that tries to explain what's going on in the game, in the world, before you start playing. That is their direction. That's the developer's direction. This developer's direction was like, hey, we're going to tell them, they're going to tell you that the crew you're playing with is tired. They got to make it through this dungeon. There's a history to this dungeon. There's a reason why they're there, and each character has some sort of purpose. But just make it through the dungeon, try to survive, right? That direction, I favor that. However, yeah, I know that it's on the light side as far as depth of story and stuff. So that's just kind of where I'm at with it.
So I noticed that we struggle to talk about the story because there's really none, except we got to get the fallen star. So I do agree, you know, with Marlon on the fact that, you know, even though we play Dark Souls and Demon Souls, you don't really get much except through lore and through cutscenes. We get that. So maybe this is going towards that approach because of the campfire. You know, in the Souls like games, there are like rest points, you know, which heals you and which brings back enemies. So can't really speak much about the story, but we're gonna go into the core mechanics. We're gonna go into the mechanics of the game, you know, because I think that's where the developer really wanted to focus the most. That, you know, they even said, you know, they intentionally didn't put a lot of lore in because maybe they didn't want a lore driven game or you know, a heavy story driven game. You know, they I feel like they tried to make an attempt at a Souls like game with RPG Maker, you know, especially inside RPG Maker. So let's talk about the mechanics. What makes this game a game, and why should we even be interested in a game like this? So who want to take this away?
I can start. So well, gameplay wise, it felt like a standard forward attack RPG Maker battle system. I did get a number of freezes while I was playing, where I had to start the whole game over because it froze when I was like 40 minutes in. It pretty much, like, once you find the pattern, you can just do the same pattern, and that's how you can get through most of the battles pretty easily. You have one guy's the healer, one of them's the tank, the DPS, and the other one's like fast but kind of weak. And you just kind of leverage that. Sometimes it seemed to make more sense sometimes to do like the regular attacks. Like some of the special attacks didn't seem like they were worth it in a lot of cases when I was using it. One thing that really bugged me in the battles was like that when you pre-enter in all of your character's moves, and then right when you're done, the default option is cancel. So it's really easy to like accidentally cancel and then have to like redo all your moves again and stuff like that.
Oh, like, yeah.
Like maybe having it where the default option is like go or like engage. That might be better. But yeah, like I mean, I don't know. It just felt pretty standard, the battles, like, and also a lot of the same enemies. So I just felt like after a while it was getting kind of repetitive. It looks okay though. Like I actually like the art style of their art and everything, and all the sprites look like they're pretty custom, and I think they have a good look to them and stuff. But like mechanically, it just felt like a standard RPG Maker battle system, but at least it's got a different skin to it, you know, I guess that's how I'd put it. And then walking around in the dungeons and stuff, that felt very slow. So like there wasn't like a dash option, so like, you know, it just felt like really slow walking around. And you know, because in these games I always feel like it's too slow. Like I want it to be like faster for some reason. Like I don't know, in my brain, but I like when there's at least an option for that. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty basic, pretty standard. It's not the worst I've seen. It's also not the best I've seen either. But like the thing that they've got going for them right now is the custom art. That's pretty much the one part of it that I think looks pretty good. So
the art is custom, the tile sets are custom.
There's a pack out there, but they look. I haven't seen a lot that looks like this before.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one either. So basically, you feel that this game operates just like a regular standard RPG Maker game, especially
well, there's like a fog of war, and no, it's a little different than a standard RPG Maker game. Like as far as like, you know, like when you're playing it, there's also a lot of like no music. There's some music that pops up every once in a while, but then there's a lot of silence too, and you're just in this dark dungeon with like a fog of war around you and no music, and again, pretty slow walking. So you know, it was you know, just I don't know, it was okay, but it just wasn't I don't know, I wasn't really excited to like find out what would happen next and stuff, because I just was like, oh, I'm just gonna be wandering through a maze and fighting the same enemies again and again. And yeah, like that's for me, like what sucks me into an RPG is the story. So like when I don't have that, it's like, even if the gameplay is great, which this is not the greatest I've seen, but it's again, I've seen worse. But even if the gameplay is really good and there's and I don't care about the characters and I don't care to find out what happens next, then it's gonna make me not want to play anymore. And when I was running into like the thing that really made me not want to play it was when I was getting freezes. I was like in the dungeon pretty deep, and I was like, okay, I should go back into the save point soon. And then I just get a freeze during the battle. I didn't even die or anything. And then that happened like 3 times to me. So I just, like it was a problem.
All right, so go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I played for about 3 hours, but I had to start over a couple times because of like those issues.
The issues. All right, so even though you are a story-driven developer yourself, you know, personally, you know, if you play Psychronix games, You know, you're going to get a lot of story. It's a lot of lore. You know, it's like actually reading a book and watching a television show. You know, props to the guy for being strong in those areas. But the game, even the developer says that, you know, exploration is the key to this game, because not only there's a lot to explore, but certain things that you explore is beneficial to your characters, like finding certain items that unlock certain abilities, you know, and stuff like that. So you don't need a story if you got good gameplay, you know, maybe what the developer is trying to drive to. Story will come later, but I want you to focus on, you know, finding these items in these secret rooms in order to advance the game. You know, you would get little lore here and there, but why you need a story where we have a castle where you can find things?
But again, it's not just about the story, right? So, like for example, let me also flip this on its head a little bit too. Also, if I'm playing a game and the story is really good, but the gameplay is bad, I'll still like it. I'll still play it. But you can do it with gameplay too. You can do it without a story too. But I didn't see a lot of that in this. Like, I didn't see like a lot of meaningful, like where I felt that like when I got this item, it made like a huge difference or something, or changed the course of what was going to happen. It didn't. There wasn't a lot of like building up your characters or whatever, as far as I could tell. There wasn't like any like different weapons and stuff or anything like that. So it just seems like it's in a really basic state where like they've got some good elements, but it's just like needs more time in the oven. Like that, it's not complete yet. You know, as far as like there's just some pieces missing, I guess.
Gotcha.
They got their basic core gameplay loop, but they didn't expand on it as much as they need to, I guess. But it's a work in progress, so I get it. But just my thoughts from playing it.
All right, Unjaded.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what you said, Cychronic, I think that there's a fuzzy understanding, in my opinion, of what content should be included in a demo, like what constitutes a demo. You got some games that come out that are like, well, here's the demo because the whole game is out, but we want you to try it in order to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got games that's like, well, the whole game ain't even done, so here's the demo just to see how much has been done. And you got to kind of make that distinction of, you know, what this is, and like it almost make you like, again, it make you wonder, like, should it even be reviewed? I'm be honest, right? Because I feel like I brought it to our attention because I wanted to raise awareness for this game. I saw the game and the appeal was there immediately when I fired it up, and I was thinking like, hey, so in order to get the developer motivated about completing the game, hey, why don't we bring some light to this game, you know? So that's what kind of got me excited to get in contact with the developer and all that stuff there. I think that me being an avid like dungeon crawler, it appealed to me so much because the gameplay mechanics felt very tight. Like it didn't have an extra system for looking at your resistances to other elements from enemies that you haven't even interfaced with. It didn't have like some extra skills like fire 1, fire 2, fire 3, and you don't know what skill you want to do, but you're just getting skills every time you level up. It just had, you got attack, now you got to figure out how you don't die. And it felt like a puzzle to me. It felt like when I played the battles, it felt like I was solving a puzzle every time. So that's where the appeal came in, because I was like, look, if she's starting off, well, I keep saying she, I don't know if this is she or not, but if the developer's starting off with a game and the battle system is this tight, imagine how it's going to be in the final version when they consider other wild cards that they could throw in. Like when I interfaced with the furnace and it gave me an ability, there's traps, and then there's items like that'll help you or hinder you throughout the dungeon. So I was like kind of thinking, like for instance, when I first fired it up, I thought, for instance, that is this going to be randomly generated, or is it going to be a what do you call that genre, where you keep doing a run over and over again?
Roguelike.
Yeah, roguelike, right? I thought it'd be like a roguelike. So it wasn't, but I just think the feeling of intentionality is so strong in this game, where they purposefully change there's no default anything. There's probably some simplicity in the battle system, but there's no default tile set, there's no default character set, there's no default sounds, there's no, but the game just it almost like feels like a Game Boy Color game or something like that.
Yeah.
And it felt like, all right, so if they're gonna go this route, like this has got the potential to be great. So I felt like the core was there, not all the candy around it, and I understood that. So that's kind of like why I picked this one, to be honest.
And understood. Yeah, because it can help the developer with their future development on their game.
All right, so go ahead.
Now, so I was just gonna reiterate the mechanics. I think that when the mechanics, I think obviously they were simple, but it almost told a story of like, all right, well, this direction I'm going with the game, and so it's for some reason that's hard for even me to do. Like if I was going to drop a demo and try to intentionally tell the direction I'm going with the game, I think that's tough for everybody. You usually end up just dropping a slice of the beginning of the game.
Yeah. And
this very well could be a slice of the beginning of the game, but the mechanics in here are so simple. Like they got provoke, like the defense has got provoke, they've got both improve my defense, or I got a move that I can help the DPS with. While I'm blocking and tanking, I got a move that if the damage dealer wants to go on an assault, or if the damage dealer needs to help the healer recover, then they got that combo move. That's showing that there's the potential for more combinations. Just like it's almost like a layered cake, where there's the baseline, and then there's going to be more complicity on top.
Well,
the sauce.
One would hope. Yeah.
Right. And then they got the soup. They got like, as you travel through the dungeon, they got little traps here. They got like the switching system. I think that, and yes, I agree with the movement being slow. I kept assuming there was some sort of sprint in there. I think it has to be considered if they're going to kind of keep the attention of the players, that there should be some either adjustment in the animation to improve the movement speed or give the illusion of faster movement. Because it did seem like you're walking a lot, especially when you got to do some backtracking to hit some switches and stuff. I think that should strongly be taken into consideration. And I don't know if it's so much mechanically, but you can tell in some rooms we enter, the music kind of shifts, but I think that it should be a more engaging soundtrack that kind of keeps the attention of the player. So maybe a little bit louder, maybe a little bit more exciting. And then, maybe some spooky sound effects, things going on like that.
Yeah. It could have used some more music in a lot of parts. Like there was a lot of parts that were just really quiet, and while you're walking around really slow, and it just kind of like deflates your balloon. You know what I'm saying? Like
To be honest, I'm an honest person. The walk speed wasn't too bad at first. at first it felt annoying, but you get used to it. Then you realize, man, we in the freaking dark castle. You know, you're not going to be sprinting during the castle, and there are traps laid around. So
I mean, I get it. It's up to
it matches the atmosphere. You know, if we all three was
Yeah,
inside
but
of
it could also kind of bring.
Hold on, you
He's on a stream, but he's actually look like he's talking, so we might want to get in contact with him. Let's see.
But like I was saying, if we all three was in the castle walking.
Hey, D7,
oh, you're back.
You've been missing from the conversation for like the last 30 seconds or something.
Really?
Yeah. You're back now.
You can hear me?
Yep.
All right, so like I was saying, if we all was in the castle, you know, we're not going to be running. We're going to be walking.
Right.
So, and I think this is the design of the game. You notice there's two different sets of enemies, right? There's static enemies and there's enemies that move. So you're not gonna know what the game is about unless you read the manual. The manual strictly tells you that static enemies respawn. No, static enemies disappear forever after you beat them. The moving enemies respawn and they chase you, right? So the static enemies are the ones that lead mostly to the treasures, you know, to like the hidden rooms and stuff. Those are majority of the fights that you can actually like miss and don't have to worry about that. So like I was saying, they have a Souls-like mechanic, because if you play Dark Souls, Demon Souls, any of the Souls games, once you defeat an enemy, and go back to the rest spot, to the camping part or the bonfire, what happened? They come back. But this developer took that mechanic, but also took away the leveling mechanic where you cannot grind. You cannot abuse the system. So what they decided was, okay, we're gonna make these moving enemies respawn, but at the same time, I want the player to fight these static enemies, because I'm going to reward them with items in the castle, which is required for them to have if they want to beat the level. So you both have to fight these enemies, these static enemies, so you can get these treasures, open these treasures, hoping that they don't have any traps. Then you gotta strategically choose who you want to open the traps, you know, stuff like that. So that's the core gameplay. That's the gameplay right there. You know, it's to basically explore the castle.
Yeah, and that's, I feel like I like that to an extent.
Yeah.
But I think it could be elaborated on so much better. Like, not so much better, but I think that what is lacking is the reward for fighting, right? Like, you think it's so, like you mentioned, the reward would be something that you get that's past the enemy, the static enemies, namely. But I don't think that's enough to get excited about battles, because when I was playing it, I kind of felt like I want to conquer the dungeon,
Mm-hmm.
which is I didn't want to get into battles though. Like I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
conquer the dungeon, I wanted to beat the game, but I didn't want to get into battles. So that I think that there could be like this in this game. You can have both, to be honest, right? You can be like, I want to beat the game, but I also want to level up my characters. I want to have them have amazing, interesting battles. I want to like crush some enemies. Like I feel like um, the potential to have both is there, and I think any game can have that. You don't have to have one without the other. Um, you do sacrifice a little bit of shit the word you, tightness of the battle system, where
Control
in order to
variables, yeah.
yeah, if you want to enjoy the game, you gotta have some flashy stuff going on. You gotta feel like you're a strong character. You gotta have some, have some player agency where the player feels like they're like super good at the game. So you have to kind of let them win it in some instances, especially if they explored enough to get strong enough, right? They gotta like see that reward in order for them to get excited about the battles, in my opinion. Um, a couple things came to mind when I did like play this though, right? I felt like people who play this probably like the puzzle of the numbers, right? Like, how do you figure out how to get Bess and Lori to do enough damage to maybe one shot an enemy, or how do you get because of the enemy composition, how do you squeeze a heal out of Plum so that Bess or Lori don't die, or you want to figure out how to do the math to get the win, solve the puzzle in that sense, right? And in my opinion, though, I like RPGs to like watch the flashy moves. I feel like I feel a little bit of a smooth brain, and to admit that the puzzle isn't the biggest appeal, I do like when the game combat is tight, but I do get excited about, okay, I solved the puzzle, so the reward is now to have a flashy move when I'm in battle, and I want to do that a lot. Um, so that's a couple of things I noticed, like that duality of the beating the overall game versus enjoying the game while I'm playing it, and then there's the what type of battle am I in? Am I in a battle to solve a puzzle, or I'm in a battle to watch some cool stuff happen, right?
So I can't say this though. Exploring, you do get rewarded, because in the beginning it's designed for you to keep going back and forth to the campsite. You have no choice, because you're fighting more groups of enemies, and you're taking so much damage, and each enemy gives you one shard each, unless you fight in the one that has the which one, the one that be roaring, they give you two. So grinding is really not even worth it. But you do have to keep going back and forth to the campsite. That's why the ferry was designed to make you travel back to the campsite. You travel back to the campsite with the ferry, and hopefully you got enough money to buy some items. Then when you get a new item or a new skill, because that's basically what the armor and relics do, it gives you new skill. Now these skills have turned to AoE abilities, so now you can fight the enemy fast, you can kill the enemy quicker without losing much damage, and you can explore deeper into the dungeon, because you're not wasting turns anymore trying to defeat a few enemies. Now you can keep going further and further and further until you get to that next standpoint where you have to go back to the campfire and replenish your health and stuff like that. And these where the static enemies come from. Your static enemies act like shortcuts. You kill them, You kill them, you are able to go further into the dungeon without having to lose health until you run into more battles where you have to fight. You have to fight them, but there is not enough resources to keep you healed, because even though your healer has a healing spell, you can't use the healing spell outside of battle, so you're forced to either heal inside battle or travel all the way back to the campfire so you can get healed. That's the intentional design that the developer have to keep you basically in the merry-go-round, so you can hope that you can find all these things. But it's a problem to this though. And this is where, you know, we really want to, explore more of the battle system. It's a problem with this. My problem is with the game. The developer tried to create characters and abilities where you could strategize and maybe conquer the battles. You know, conquer the game. You could win, whatever. But the problem is the design is flawed upon the RNG of the engine. So we're jumping into the battle system now. You know, we don't have no story. The main mechanic is we need to find items to give us more abilities. What else do we got? We got the battle system to keep us entertained. And let's be honest, guys. Were you entertained with the battle system?
No, not really.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, there was the two I'm calling them sides of the same coin, or two polarizing systems, but they're really not. It's just like my interest versus my challenge, right? You want to introduce a challenge into the game, right? Especially RPG. You've got two things. You've got walking around on the map. That's a challenge. Figuring out where you got to go, talking to people. Then you got the battle. Challenge in the battle is figuring out how you can overcome the enemies and survive, you know, without dying and without using too many resources, so that you can continue to fight. I think that the system, the battle system, like, is so heavily focused on the survival mechanics and the actual puzzle of the battle, that it does lack some of the excitement. But was you excited when you played like Pokemon Red and Blue when it first came out? Right, those games like were mad basic. Not saying that to this game's defense, but I think that the intentionality leaves it to, you know, be more of a puzzle base where you find your entertainment in. Oh, I just that enemy had 4 HP and best hit him for 4 HP. So boom, I was efficient in that attack. So I got the return, or I gotta think 3 turns ahead and what you predicted came true, right? It's not like, oh, my main character has his special now, time to do the awesome ability, which in to be honest, like, would be of my preference. But I see here how the game was like, hey, this game is about thinking about what you're supposed to do, you know, and the penalty is there if you don't think about what you're supposed to do. And, you know, like, I'm not an avid puzzle gamer. I really like that about this, you know.
Okay.
So I would say, yeah. However, it was entertaining. However, there was some lackluster elements to the battle system, namely the speed, right? The game didn't go fast for whatever reason, but it, like I said, it did have that Pokemon feel. Like you select your abilities and then they select theirs, and you try to survive. So whether that was intentional or not, it's like it's coming at a cost of the player's attention. Um, the way you input your attacks. I think Cychronic mentioned that when after you select your hero abilities, there's a cancel and then an engage. I think cancel came first just in case you input your if you mashing, then you won't mess up. I think that's why cancel works. Instead, I was thinking that don't make me put in all of the inputs over. Make it go back to plum if I hit cancel, right? So I just have to do plums again and not Bess's and Lori's. Make it just go backwards because it does go backwards if you don't confirm plum's action. So there, that was that. I think the game is so I think it's so like what do you call it? It's like not fresh, but it's like it's in its basic state where hey, maybe you could have scoured the dungeon to find some sort of ability that lets you discover the enemy's abilities or discover what type of what the speed is of the of the enemies and stuff like that. Like there's a lot of mechanics to consider that would layer on top that would bring more strategy, bring more excitement to the game, bring more interaction as well. So I know that's like that's actually lacking, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think getting a lot of comments here. I'm like skimming through them. I want to read them out, but like I guess let me just get this point out. Yeah, I think that for what it does, it's doing like well, but we wholeheartedly like realize that it's missing some things that it should do.
This makes sense though, and I want you to answer this question honestly. The two moves, blackjack and execution. What you think about that?
It didn't feel like it was worth it to me because you only have like a 50-50 shot at best that the stun is going to work, and then if you picked execution after that, then it's just going to miss. And then when it does hit, it does like only like 2 points of damage more than like the normal attack.
But consider this though, right?
Yeah,
so
I think make it make sense. That's
Consider this though. I did think about that. I looked at that. I remember when you was doing your first impressions, and like you mentioned that I'm gonna really lean behind the decision probably likely by the developer on this one because it exists. And like I said, it's not my favorite area of excitement when it comes to the RPG battle. But I do respect the element of like if you ever played Magic the Gathering, there's some bad cards, there's some good cards, there's some bad cards that can be good if you put them together, right? So thing is, if you consider the blackjack and then the execution, right? It's not a move that you're supposed to want to do all the time, right? Blackjack costs like 3 and execution costs 2. Bess is pretty much like she wants to spend her SP, and even if she spend her SP on the attack that does like the one cost SP is either she's getting SP or spending SP. There's probably an opportunity where Bess needs to stun, but you still want to convert that damage, that stun, that blackjack, which is mad weak, into some damage. That's where Lori comes in. Right, I see it more as like a niche opportunity and not like a hey, this combo is definitely supposed to work all the time and it's what you use to win battles. It's like, all right, so we done all of a sudden ran into a group of 4 enemies. We only got 3 characters. Let's stun one. That way, we can figure out how we want to proceed, or we can regroup. Maybe you got to regroup because you don't got no SP. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like I think that the developer is considering these niche situations so that you can have an option to navigate around it, and not just like big damage.
Let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this. And you said if we get into a battle and we need to stun one enemy, and you try to blackjack and you miss.
And that's where the risk is for the move.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
because they might have, some of them have more speed than that.
It's just on average, it's not worth it.
It's not worth doing it. It's not worth doing it. You might as well just go in there brute strength, because what's the thief name again? Best, right? Best on average does at least 6 points of damage, right?
Yeah,
Lori does at least 7-8 points of damage, right? And your mage does at least 2 points per damage on average.
Not if it's a magic. Not if it's magic.
Yeah, if you do the magic attack, the
I'm
dark
talking about
one,
regular attacks.
Okay.
No. See, that's where we really gotta.
Hold on.
That's where we are really reaching. We're reaching a
how
crossroads.
You reaching because
we're reaching a crossroads. No, what I'm saying is
blackjack is a physical attack, right?
Yeah.
Execution is a physical attack, right?
Yeah.
If you miss, blackjack does 1 damage, regardless who you fighting, with a chance to stun. Executioner does at least 13 damage, right? But if I'm doing 6 average damage with Bess, who does the blackjack, then 7 average damage with Lori.
I already know the answer to that. Right?
That's 13, right?
Yes.
That's 13. But the trade-off is, if I miss the stun and already got my moves inputted, if I miss the stun, I'm gonna follow up doing 1 damage, then Lori gonna follow up and do 1 damage.
Right. So think about that though, right? I don't know. It's probably not built in the game, so I have a means to maybe correct the problem that you're having. But I'm seeing the niche width, right? Because you want it to be more guaranteed. But if you're getting a stun, that's the answer, right? So it's the niche is you have to go for a stun. But the bonus is you want to get some damage out of it, right? So when you're forced to go for a stun, you have to, and you also think, hey, do I just go for a stun and then maybe do an SP gain or provoke or do the bolster to heal, right? Think about the order that your characters are in, right? Bess makes the decision. She's got the fastest speed. She's going to kick off the battle, right? So she makes the decision of like, how do I spark this off? And then it's like I said, niche is the key. Situationally, you can attempt a stun and a conversion so that damage still is there. Because stun don't do no damage, but sometimes you might have to do it.
Well, I think what might actually end up fixing this kind of problem is if you changed the battle system to where when you choose your move is when you make your move. No. I mean,
but it's also
like if you chose Bess's move, you chose to do the stun, right? And then Bess makes her move, and the enemy gets stunned or not. And if the enemy doesn't get stunned, then of course the next move wouldn't be Executioner. But if the enemy was stunned, then it would make sense that you would want to do Execution.
But let's make this and y'all answer this question, since y'all professors at this and stuff like that. Let's answer this question. Then how come you could stun the enemy, do Executioner, and miss the execution?
Yeah,
but I think like So just like a
Where's the
physical attack,
strategy?
they've got
Where's the
evasion.
strategy in that when you're dependent on RNG?
The evasion, right? If the enemy can
But
dodge
you're
a
stunned.
physical
You're
attack,
stunned. You're stunned.
Right, like the stunned enemy, you still miss
yeah,
the
you would
stunned
assume.
enemy.
Yeah, you would assume that it's stunned. Yeah. All right, so yeah, you can miss the blackjack too.
I
Because the blackjack has a
understand
stance
that. You
control.
know,
Yeah, it actually missed quite a lot.
they're not.
You're missing
They're
the
not
execution.
stunned. They're not stunned before you blackjack them. They at least got a chance. You know, dodge the attack.
I see. Yeah.
But when you're freaking stunned and you do execution, you miss. Like, come on, bro.
Okay, so in that specific case, yeah, that does make sense. Like they shouldn't be able to like dodge something if they're stunned.
Just don't unique the moves. They should just have executioner. Do its own thing. Maybe 50 or a percentage to do a critical damage, and just have stun a chance to stun the enemy. That way you can improvise if you want to heal or recover your SP, because there's a downside to recovering your SP as well. You know, you could get bleed, and bleed is horrible. Bleed is like poison in this game. You know what I mean? That's what I would have done. I would not link execution and the blackjack move together. I just get rid of that if I was the developer, because it's broken. It's broken. You know what I mean? Like, there was plenty times, you know, I had the enemy set up, but I missed blackjack execution so many times when I had the perfect setup.
Yeah. That happened to me too. It was like miss.
Yeah, you like,
miss.
God,
I'm like,
you
okay,
like, man,
this
I'd
isn't
rather
what
do
this.
regular attack.
You're right, and then I did just start doing regular attack because it got the enemies dead faster, right? So.
Yeah.
Hey, so yeah, it didn't.
Hold on, guys. Why is SG? Never mind. I'm looking on the wrong chat. Cause I see him, but I don't see. But I see it now. Okay. SG's messages. Like, what in the world? I see SG, but I don't see his messages. But I see it though. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Nerd Mansion?
Go ahead, my guy. Finish what you were saying. Sorry for cutting you off.
I think I forgot, but yep. I think I do like the combo moves though, because it looked like, I think at the end of your gameplay, D7, that there's likely another character that could be introduced. So if you swap characters, you could find more combinations, like combos with bleed, combos with stun, combos with burn, stuff like that. Some of the moves like Scorching Wheel seemed a little lackluster. I'm like, all right, they're burning, now what, right? And then Bess has the knives where she can give everybody bleeding, but that didn't seem too like impactful. It actually worked in one situation where I had to fight like 4 enemies, but it just seemed like it's probably some synergy going on with that. If I mix with another character, I would get some synergy or something. But I don't know. I just think like it's the suggestions are really helpful, I think, for this game, right? Like it's going to go, okay, somebody tried to do execution. They see that, execution shouldn't likely miss so hard or miss at all, right? And it maybe it's enemy dependent or something, right? But other than that, yeah, some of the combos should kind of be what you expect.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like it was worth it to do a lot of the combos for like what we just talked about.
And this is the problem with first person games, like first view game, first person game.
The front view game.
This is the problem. The problem is it's not a lot of action going on. It's slow. It gets boring fast, and everybody and their mama know this game gets repetitive quick. The only thing that is really great about the game, To me, it's the exploration. I really enjoyed that. The battles, not so much. Even fighting the last boss was so frustrating, guys. Like, you give the last boss an ability where RNG really plays a big factor. And you can ask the chat. You can watch the live stream. And I called it. I said, there's no way I'ma beat this boss if they don't do that wave crash ability, which hits all your characters. It's an AoE skill. I said, if this boss don't do it, I'm going to win. And lo and behold, he didn't do the move, and guess what? I won.
Because you stunned the boss, or was
No,
it me?
you can't stun the ball. You can't. I tried over and over and over to stun this Joker. You can't stun him. But as soon as he stopped doing that wave move, it was curtains for him. It was curtains. Because he's no longer doing all this damage towards you, where you run out of healing items. There's 3 different phases of the enemy. Then he got somebody with him. Then he has a reflection spell. Like, it's pure RNG. It's not skill. It's no skills. That's what I'm trying to say. It's no skills behind winning that fight. It's pure luck. Unless I see otherwise, I don't freaking believe it. I won't believe it.
Man, that's unfortunate. I didn't get the chance to make it to that boss. But yeah, I think that early game boss probably should have one mystery or one surprise mechanic that maybe if you explored, you could figure out how to circumvent, or something like that. I don't know. Like, I keep thinking back to Final Fantasy VII first boss, but that's just me.
It's the moves and the abilities that it seems it's. I don't know what it is, but it seems like most front view battle systems they give their stronger enemies AoE skills, and they have it on repeat because they're out of options. They're out of options to really make anything interesting. That it's so repetitive. Like on screen, you fighting 4 freaking enemies. 4 freaking enemies of the same. Why not mix it up? This is what happens when you do front view and don't do it correctly.
Also, a lot of front view battle systems don't even have action sequencing, right? So like in my game, I have a front view system, but it's the actual sprites are there, and there's action sequencing and everything like that, and they're animated.
Yeah, I get what they're doing, because they got custom characters, so right. That means they have to make custom battlers. But why not go all the way if you're already making the sprites? You're already making the on-screen sprites. So why not make the side view, or have them facing forward, to give us some action to spruce up the battle system. See, the battle system is not the strongest aspect of this game. To me, it's the exploring and finding secret rooms,
right,
and stuff like that.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
So when you give me something like, don't get me wrong, you are being rewarded when you find the items because you get the AoE skills. But once again, you're relying on AoE to win. And on top of RNG. Because you gotta stun some enemies if you're lucky, then fall over the execution. Because what's the point of this is my thing. What's the point of stunning the enemy, healing, then next thing you know, you're gonna lose all that you healed for in the next round anyway, and you're gonna be caught in a healing loop. So the point of stun is to get that extra damage for that turn and negate the enemy's turn for that turn. He doesn't act. But what's the point of healing? He hits you again, like boom, and you're gonna be doing the same thing over and over again. That's my prediction of it. You're gonna keep doing the same thing over and over again, and that's what I found myself doing in certain battles. You know, then you screw up, you miss you miss the blackjack, you're freaking screwed, man. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, you mind if I put a link to a Square Enix game called Dungeon Encounters?
Man, you could do whatever you want, man.
All right, so I just linked a game that I'm gonna use an example here, right?
Okay.
Dungeon Encounters is not the prettiest game, but I remember when Square Enix first introduced this game, a number of folks were excited about it. Not myself, because I didn't like Square Enix for the strategy. I liked it for the flashy abilities that you unlock when you get to level X, right? But this game did pretty well, and it was a good handheld game. I think that, I have to open my eyes to see that there's an audience who does like the decision-making aspect of an RPG. And they're fine with front view battle because it doesn't have to look flashy. Like this game, Dungeon Encounters literally don't even have moving enemies. It's like arrows pointing to who you're going to attack and stuff like that. Like it's very basic, but the way I think the interest comes in to thinking turns ahead, thinking about where you've been and where you're going, trying to traverse the dungeon. Thinking about the types of enemies you're fitting to counter, and then thinking about how your party, all of the like you ever heard of those games where you're literally like the football manager, right? The football manager, or what do you do? Like literally you're just a manager, or like the truck driver, Euro truck games and stuff like that. Like I couldn't play, right? You're not the guy on the field running the touchdown. You're sitting in the back saying, well, this guy broke his ankle, so now we're going to switch him out for him. That's where I think the heart of the interest lies for this particular game, right? Yeah, it's not flashy and it's front view, but I think that was purposeful because they're like, well, I want this game to be for a player who's going to be methodic, is going to think turns ahead, who's going to think well, if this doesn't work, I got a backup, right? You got to think in a branching way. So I had to think hey, does it appeal to that type of player? It probably doesn't appeal to me, but what these type of players who see these type of games, are they gonna like it? And I think that the potential is there.
So you're saying with this game, you got to think ahead.
Yeah, I think you got to think not only ahead, but also in a branch, more if-then situations. You got to have well, if this fails, then I got this going, or because I'm in a situation, I have to adjust.
So if you miss the blackjack ability, cause you're thinking ahead that you gotta and you miss it, you dead. There's nothing you can do.
I mean, depends.
I'm sorry for laughing, but man, you should have saw my frustration when I was what I was doing. I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it. My experience, maybe if not saying stun should be 100%, but when you introduce a skill with a skill, and you're basically telling your player, do not do this skill unless you have this effect on the enemy. So that's already in your player's head that, you know what, I need to follow up with that execution skill after that blackjack move. So you follow up, you miss the first skill, then you miss the second. You automatically gonna miss the second skill because it's going to do 1 damage. That's not strategizing. You know what I mean? That's not really strategizing, because
you don't always miss the skill. And then there's skills.
Are you serious?
No, you don't. I didn't. If you look at mine, if you look at my gameplay, I didn't always miss it.
You look at my gameplay.
It's a
look at my gameplay. In all honesty,
it's a chance.
Now right, the last boss, you can't do it. That makes sense. You can't stun a boss. I get that. So your player need to stop using that skill against that boss. But against an ad enemy, you know, once is afflicted, executioner should be 100% done. Blackjack is a chance for blackjack because you're setting it up. But now you're punishing the player for RNG thing.
Yeah, so we already mentioned that execution should be guaranteed.
Yeah.
If not,
but I just don't see no strategy in this game. I don't see it.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, it's just about, you know, you find the pattern that works and you implement the pattern again and again and again.
That's basically good. You're doing the same thing each battle. You hitting them. Once you get that AoE skill, that's all you're gonna do. You're not gonna do nothing. Most RPG games are like that. That doesn't have a dedicated thing. Like most games you play, you get the best skill. That's all you're gonna do. I like games where every skill matters regardless. You learn it on level 2 or level 3. You can be on level 99. That same skill matters.
Yeah, because they're just used in different ways, you know, to make that. You can use different skills in different ways and have them all be useful.
Exactly.
So you're saying like Final Fantasy 6 has abilities like that joint don't got fire 1, fire 2, fire 3.
Oh my god, he's serious.
It don't. That's actually the only Final Fantasy I ain't played. Is 6.
Man, you know what I use the whole move? I use either dispatch with Cyan, drill, the drill or auto crossbow. You get that early on in the game, you could level that up to like level 99. When I get Saban, do bum rush, keep doing bum rush the whole time. Get the offering and the Genji glove, that way you can hit 8 different times. I don't really use the fire abilities or ice abilities of Final Fantasy. I don't really use a lot of magic in that game.
No, so I'm saying like,
but
fire,
if you I've seen speedrunners use lower abilities at the last boss and do tons of damage based on their build. So technically you still can have the older moves be really effective. But what I'm saying, in this game, none of the moves really matter because I did the critical one. Don't even really do critical damage. You know, the one that always don't miss. I ain't did not nail critical with that. Come on, bro. Make it make sense. Like some of the moves just don't make any sense.
Yeah, like it seemed like in most cases the move to just do a regular attack made more sense.
Yeah, you better off doing regular attack. That's all I'm trying to say. Dude, you could beat most RPG Maker games just by attacking. You don't need to do no ability. You just attack.
All right, so it seems like we're dragging on this whole conversation about how execution isn't hidden. That's not this whole combat system though. You know, I think that the characters play their roles well. Where Bess isn't, she's like a speedy attacker. Isn't the highest damaging, but speedy attacker, so that works. Lori takes damage, that works. Plum is magic damage that works and support. Um, I just think yes, the execution should get tweaked, and that the developer should take that into account. Like, who knows how many layers of complexity the dev is going to add on top of this. But to kind of, like, I don't think you could, what do you call it, write off the entire combat system off of one combo not being configured properly.
But
No,
I think,
it's the thing. It's what you played during the demo what counts. We don't know what else they have in store. The demo is to what? To get the person interested into buying the game or wanting more of the game. So you wants to have the best of the best for your demo.
I would describe like when the right time to release a demo is when you have like at least a minimal viable product that what you play in the demo is like if you're playing a complete game, but like your game could maybe not even be done yet, but like if you got your first 2 hours done, that's a demo, right? But gameplay complete, for that 2 hours.
Well, for it to be the beginning of the game, I think that having some relatively easy enemies and some relatively easy skills is pretty par for the course. That's what I'm seeing here, right? They give you a combo move, you can use it, you can miss it, but if you don't use it, then you survive or whatever, right? Like you use the abilities of the roles of the characters.
You use attack, and then.
But let me say this. I think I almost died my first battle. I'm gonna tell you why.
Because the first battle it seemed like you started off with not full HP for the first battle.
I'm gonna tell you why, because I was missing most of my attacks.
All right, so Bess has an attack where she's guaranteed to hit. You spend 1 HP. So that's where you don't attack. You use Bess's actual abilities. Lori has provoke. She provoked the enemies to hit her for less damage. She has defense boost. She can heal HP, but also raise her defense. Plum has magic. Magic likely never misses. It's just, I think, it didn't feel like attack to me. It didn't. You can attack, but you get rewarded or not.
Well, when I would choose the other stuff that wasn't attack, it would take up SP, and then the enemy would die sooner. The enemy would take longer to die because the fact is, if I'm Lori, right? You use
never misses.
Right, but you use the moves to like increase your defense or provoke. You don't get like any damage on the enemy. So the fastest path to get the enemy dead is to either hit attack or one of the specials that wastes some SP and does it won't miss or whatever. But I just was using attack with Bess and Lori, and then I was using Plum as a healer. And then if nobody needed to be healed, then I would use the magic attack. And like that was pretty consistently like got me through fastest. If I did the other moves, it would just take longer.
But sometimes you don't want to do the magic attack because now you're gonna be forced to go back to the campsite, what you don't want to do. So
right. But the magic attack is only 1 SP to use it, right? So I'm just saying, if I don't need to heal,
you get an SP per turn. You recover 1 SP per turn. So you wants to save the magic attacks. You wants to save your SP, for the harder fights, because the goal is to keep you from going back to the campfire. You go back to the campfire, you're really hindering yourself. But that's the design. You have to go back.
And also, as part of the design, the battles freeze. So even if you wanted to go back, you sometimes are not. Oh wow, I guess I wasted this time when this shit froze.
Yeah, the battle it froze on me probably 5 times stream. Then when I looked up when I pulled up the task manager, sometime when you launch the game, it's 2 versions of the game under App X. Never heard of that. And it eats up a lot of CPU up. So I had to manually close that. I could go longer without it crashing again, but every time it crashes, that App X always pops up. I don't know why, but it does.
Sounds like a win.
But don't get me wrong, the game has a lot of potential. I know SG gonna be like, here we go, potential again.
I think so too.
It's not a bad game. You know what I mean? I actually enjoyed the game. I just feel like it's making a lot of the battle system need to be refined a bit. Make it like if we do have to go back to the campsite, which isn't bad, because I did feel like I was winning. When I was getting the new items, because they offer the AoE abilities, they offer the bleed abilities to all foes, they offer burn abilities to all foes. Then when you learn the healing ability, that Lori could resurrect your player with 20% HP, and it costs only 4 SP, you felt like you was winning. But majority of the fights rely on that RNG. Now, should your game rely on RNG for your player to win, especially when they have the best stuff? You gotta ask yourself that as a developer. My player is doing everything right, but for them to win this, they gotta have great RNG. Now, what mess is that? That feels like a gotcha game, like one of those pay to win games.
Okay.
Regardless how good you are, you gotta keep putting in quarters, regardless of what you got. So
let me remind us of a couple of things. Like, we've been ragging on this game the whole podcast, but we haven't scored any of the elements of the game.
Okay.
So maybe we can do that in a second.
Okay.
But let me ask y'all a question. How would you suggest making an RPG difficult for the player? Do you and then that's the first question. Let me get y'all responses to that.
Well, it kind of depends. It's kind of a balancing act, because if you make it too hard, some people rage quit and won't play the game, and then if you make it too easy,
I didn't say make it too hard. I didn't say make it too easy. How do you make it hard at all? Like, what's your level? What's your strategies for difficulty?
I would say different types of moves that you have to counter move with something else, and you have to think ahead. And again, like, that's what I mean by, like, if you had like a seat, like where if like in the battle system you had like where they just made the moves when you select the moves, you could have a little bit more of that.
No, so no, that's two different things. You're contradicting yourself. If you see the move as it happens, then you're being reactionary. Then the next character has to do something in reaction to the success or the failure of the first character's move. So you're not thinking ahead, you're thinking reactionary. You're saying, well, Joe did this, now Susie can do this. There's strategy to that, but it doesn't link to what you said adding difficulty would be, which is thinking steps ahead.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. I mean, it just depends on how you want to pull it off. I mean, there's also you can also make the enemies do a lot of damage. So like you only have a couple moves to make, and like sometimes it doesn't make sense to heal or does it make sense to attack, and you force the player into like maybe one more attack makes more sense than healing. You can make it and I kind of like to do that, and I make it like hard to hit both directions, meaning the enemies hit you hard and you hit them hard. So you're gonna find out really quick either way whether you're toast or not. And
all right, so toast means
like
whether you are making the correct decisions or are you strong enough as a leveled character.
Yeah, and I also don't do levels because levels make it where you can grind and kind of like exploit it in that way. It can make it a little too easy or a little too hard depending on whether you're grinding or not. And
so this game
like to grind.
Is taking a tip from your process. This is basically how you like it because you don't level in this game.
Yeah, but also like what I like. Well, I'm just saying what I like to do because I as a developer I make what I like, right? So, I went with kind of like a skill tree system. So but I also kept it open ended. So like you could pick which skills you wanted for each of the characters. And then you could come up with your own combinations of things that you want to do on your own that might make sense or not depending on which enemies you're running into. So sometimes it might be too easy for some people, sometimes it might be too hard for others, but you do create a challenge if you create these different like where skills can stack on each other for increased damage and stuff like that.
Oh, like blackjack and execution?
No, not like that, because that blackjack and execution was miss. So it didn't it didn't make sense to do it, and it would take away SP.
All right. For this game, for example, the last boss was a good setup fight because one, the first phase. It was just doing normal stuff, and it had a ally. So one of the allies was a normal enemy that was that you really need to do the blackjack and which kind to take it out quick. So you got to take that one out quick, or you're gonna do more damage. Then there's a second phase where it basically do like a stun damage. It can hit you with an AoE attack and stuff like that. You get rid of that phase, and on the last phase it does all the above, and it also has a reflection ability, like a mirror ability, where if you do a magic attack on it, it reflects back to you. So the battle is well designed, right? But once again, here's the RNG. It has the move called Wave Crash, and it does it over and over and over and over again. Then it stuns whatever your setup is. If it hits you with a lightning bolt, you're automatically stunned. So throwing you out of whack. And once again, RNG wins because this thing could keep doing the lightning bolt and you're not going to have a chance to act or a chance to heal your characters because now you're stunned. And vice versa.
I know, I don't know.
It's cheat moves. It's cheat moves.
Hey, did you want to answer the question of like what you think would make a RPG difficult? Like what you would do to add challenge to RPG?
What I would do to add challenges to my RPG is I would actually, make the battles, strategic, not RNG. And I think the best that really does that is the game called Anaron's Legacy. Because all the bosses battles were strategic, where you had to do certain things in order to win the fight. Like you actually had to use certain abilities, look at certain enemies, to maybe one enemy looked different from the other, which one you had to attack. But what I would do personally if I were to make this game, is what you're saying? If I was
No,
the
I'm just saying
developer?
like any RPG, right? Because what I'm trying to get a profile of is what you guys prefer as a challenge, right? One thing to consider, RNG is everywhere in RPGs. So you got to accept that as like part of the mechanics of the battle system, especially if you're not dealing with other mechanics. Like usually there's like elements, usually there's the monsters having like defensive capabilities, a lot of other, like I would think that those are like higher tier elements. Something as simple as like your attack hitting or missing gives the illusion of the characters are moving in the battle, right? It's like the actual enemy moved out of the way of the attack.
What?
So adding that RNG adds the variety to the battle where it's not always the same.
I get it. But
So,
what I would do, I would actually have tail signs versus, my party members, they would be synced with each other against a certain boss to do the maximum damage, where the player really has to figure out, okay, how can I take this down this boss? For example, you got a rock looking enemy and you have a wizard and stuff like that. Anything you do that's outside of the element weakness, it's not going to do much. You know what I mean? Or there could be combination moves between between two different battlers, like for example,
like blackjack and execution.
Not even that. If I got somebody that can boost my magic stats to do more maximum damage, I would do that. But that's not on an RNG level. That's on a strategic level. Blackjack and executioner, we could agree that that's on the RNG level. But me doing magic boost on one character to do maximum damage is a strategic level, because I'm not gonna miss that. You shouldn't miss that, to be honest. Then when I cast the spell, of course I can miss the spell, but it's a small chance that's gonna happen. And I really feel that bosses most definitely should be, at least 60% stronger than your party. Then it takes everyone in your party to bring that boss down, not just one character.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get some of the comments out of the way, because ever since I asked that one question, it sparked some interest. So SG Harlequin says, oh boy, there's so many different ways to make a difficult game. Punishing deaths, dangerous enemies, low sources of healing, and so many more. Okay. And he also says, what I usually do is just have the player, or even the game in general, just not miss at all. Missing is never a cool thing, in my honest opinion. Doesn't add anything outside of wasted action, in my honest opinion. Yeah, I get that. But I played, if you ever played Final Fantasy Tactics, you ever play some of the first Dragon Quest games that are like front view, when you hear that little miss, it is supposed to give you that sense, that little bit of a low, like a oh dang, so that the positive parts of the game are that much better. I think that that is what you deal with in a RPG game. If it was playing Tekken, you can still miss attacks because somebody could space you. But those games aren't.
That's skill based though. That's a skill based game.
That's what I'm saying. They aren't the same as RPGs. RPGs reward preparation, exploration, and thinking ahead, having a plan. That's kind of like a tree branch of, if this happens, then I'll do this. Yeah, it's not really like reflex and stuff like that. So I'm thinking like that's the core of the difficulty. Did you prepare, okay, for this fight, and what you gonna do if? And then when you're in the battles, they gotta throw a wrench in that thing. Like, oh dang, what you thought was going to happen didn't happen. So now what you going to do? And that's the key and the point of RNG. Now, yeah, blackjack execution probably shouldn't be RNG for both attacks. I agree, but you can't just say that shouldn't be RNG or the whole game was RNG, because low key every RPG has got some RNG.
I get that. But once the last boss keep doing crash wave, crash wave, crash wave, crash wave, crash wave, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do, my guy. This is what I'm trying to tell you. There's nothing you can do at that last boss. I went in there with 8 healing items, 8 tonics, right? I went in there with 8 tonics, 3 revives, a couple items to throw at the boss, like bombs and the magic things, and the hard bread that does 6 damage. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing you can do.
Let me just say, right?
But at the last time when he did not do that rock crash, well, that wave crash,
you won.
I won, and I had plenty of healing items left over.
So, like I said, that needs some tweaking. I think that is criticism for the developer.
It is.
It doesn't attest to the whole game though, and that's what I guess the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, the game, if it don't got no RNG like that, you're not even rolling the dice. Like if you ever play D&D, like come on now, you might as well just roll 20s all the time. Anyway,
let's ask that question. You think the whole game is RNG, Takran?
No, the whole game isn't RNG, but there's not really a shit ton of moves or anything. So, that's why we're talking about 2 moves, because there's really not that many of them. So, we're just going off what we've got, and yeah. But I mean,
and I'm not saying the whole game is RNG. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that fight particular is pure RNG, luck based. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So yeah, let's hope the developer adjust that to make it more streamlined, more fair, and more rewarding if you prepare.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's get the ratings out, because I don't even think we did the story ratings. How about story? What y'all think?
For the story rating, for me, I'm gonna say it's like a 4, like a 4 or 5. 4.5, 4.5. Just because it's not developed enough yet. It's not bad, but there's just not any meat and potatoes on it yet. Maybe there could be, but maybe that's not the point of the game, but I don't know. But if I were to judge the story, I just feel like there isn't really much of one. So I can't give it like a high score for story at this time. So 4.5.
All right, what do you think, Lisa?
I would give it a it's optional to read about the story. It's not forced on the player, to be honest. I give it a 3. I need more.
Okay. Yeah, the max rating is out of 10, just in case somebody asks. So yeah, I think I cannot I almost wanted to give this thing an NA as far as story. Like you can't judge this game on the story because there's no real story to experience. But if I was to score it, I was going to put it around the 4, because it has what would give it those first 4 points. It has a story. It has characters that interact, that have purpose in the story. And it is there, right? So,
well, it's more like the outline of it is there. That's how I would describe it.
The setting is part of the story. The sealed fortress is the sealed fortress that has something in it. It's not like you're going to a random castle, so that's part of the story. The people that you interact with, everyone has something to do with Velithian or something like that. So there's some lore there. And that's kind of it. I think that if it wanted to be have more story and deliver it in a unique way, it could add more, like maybe some paintings on the wall, and you talk to the painting. I mean, you can interact with the painting and get some details. There's not a lot of things going on, like no characters are getting interacted with. There's no NPCs, right? And that's the gist of it, right? So I think that's where a score would be if I had to score it on the story, right? But honestly, I personally like don't want to, because like I said in the beginning, it's based on the dev's direction, and maybe the dev was like, well, I want to give a dungeon crawling experience, but not have them skipping you know, mashing through dialogue or watching cutscenes. So that's where I'm kind of reserved about that, but I'm gonna stick with the 4. So I think that's it. We had 4, 3, 4.5, and 3. Let's get into the what was that? Gameplay, I think gameplay, and then we had battle or something like that. So gameplay, what do you guys think?
I'd probably give it a 5.
5 in the gameplay. No feedback to the developer. Just
5. Well, I think that it, more than anything, this game is basically just what so what I was gonna, sorry, the barking was distracting me. But what sorry, I don't know if I'm okay. All right.
Go ahead, Cyclone. Sorry.
Sorry. There's like so much talking at me that it's hard for me to think when I hear so much talking at me through the speakers. Like I can't think when I'm hearing all the stuff in the background and stuff.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah, it's because there's a lot of noise going on D7's end, so I can't yeah. Okay. So what I was gonna say was that the gameplay, it was very basic RPG Maker. The game looks really nice. It's got like a good presentation to it as far as its custom graphics and stuff like that. It just seems like it's not done yet. It seems like it's a project that's like 20% done, and you know, just needs to get more detailed and fix some of the issues that, you know, we've discussed. They can go any direction they want in it, but I'm just kind of rating it based on where I see that it's at right now. And that's why but it is a game. It does what it does do the job, but it's also just kind of basic. So I don't know, 5. Yeah.
All right. How about you, D7?
Yeah.
All right. I do like the exploration. I do feel like I am being rewarded for exploring, because I believe that was one of the main you know, functions of the game. You know, it's a dungeon crawler. So when you exploring a dungeon, you of course want to get rewarded. Now there's chests thrown about the dungeon. You could get rewards. You could get stronger items. There are traps set about. So you definitely feel rewarded exploring. I mean, it's nothing bad. You know, it's nothing wrong with it. The enemy, you know, it's basically, you know, you go through different floors, you run into these enemies and these static enemies that chase you. You can find hidden switches to explore more of the dungeon and stuff like that. So in that area, I think they did great. In that terms of gameplay. So to be honest, I give it a 7. The reason why I give it a 7, and I feel like they could improve on this, maybe have things spread out more, you know, variety of maybe some puzzles, because you are in a dungeon, you know. Give the player more, you know, more reaction, more gameplay to do. You know, maybe have a door locked, you maybe gotta find the key in the chest, or maybe fight an enemy that could drop a key. You know, give it a little bit more, and maybe, you know, riddles that you gotta solve, or hit the button in order, you know, something like that, instead of just exploring rooms and stuff like that and opening chests, because that's basically all you're doing. But I give it a 7, solid.
Yeah, and that yeah, I was going to piggyback on exactly what you were saying about the density of the items and the things to interact with in the dungeon, in the fortress. I agree with the 7. I'm going to give it a 7 as well. I think that you can tell the intentionality of the style, the gameplay, every feature. When you pull up the shop, it's just a picture. When they said at the soup campfire, that's a picture. It's not like, you know, they don't keep you on that screen. They don't want you to be on that map screen for this encounter. You know, I think they really get intentional with what they use and what they don't use. However, I think that they could add more interaction throughout the dungeon, or some sort of way, because to detect that things are interactable. Engagement, I think, is something that you're going to need to deal with for this game, because you got players who will not be engaged if they're not, you know, if things aren't moving fast, if things aren't, you know, keeping their attention. Gameplay kind of moves into the combat. So I'm gonna that's a 7 for me too. I think that the intentionality is really what puts it at a 7 for me. The decisions of the moves, the characters and their purpose. You know, I don't even know if we have a presentation section, but I think presentation is what really stands out to me for this game, and what made me want to pick it specifically. So I think that that's the best part. Just want to figure out, how can you engage your player more? How can you keep them more interested in what is going on in the game? You know, and also kind of feel rewarded for what they're doing in battle and outside of battle. What do you guys think about the battles?
Well, I thought the battles. I mean, I don't necessarily like putting battles in a separate category versus gameplay, because they're part of the gameplay.
Yeah, let me cut you off for a second, because I'm still trying to figure out what our categories are, and I thought battles was still a category.
What you rate the battles, Cycron? Be honest.
I mean, I'd rate it a 5 out of 10. I mean, that's what I would rate it as. Yeah, it does what it needs to do. It does what it needs to do, but it's really basic. I've seen it like a million times before. It's got a nice skin though, you know. But yeah, just middle of the road, 5.
Amen. I get it.
Oh, what you think? Yeah.
But I also put the battle system in with gameplay. They're the same. The gameplay and battle system are the same. Like the game battle system is part of the gameplay. But yes, the gameplay might have other aspects attached to it as well. But battles are not always part of. That's why battles can't be their own category, because some games don't have battles. So, but they do have gameplay, right? Some games have battles and gameplay. Battles as part of the game. So, yeah.
I would give it. I mean, I feel like the regular battles were pretty straightforward. You know, once you know what certain enemies do. I mean, to be honest, all they really did was a sort of an attack, like just regular attack. Maybe a bleeding skill. We had the same abilities and skills that we could flip upon the enemy, which they could flip upon us. So there wasn't really no unique enemy skills. for say, except the AoE skills from the last boss. I felt like those were more unique in terms, which bosses should have their own abilities. Other than certain mechanics, I feel like the battles could definitely be improved. They do play a factor in this game because your items that you get, actually you use those in battles. They actually make your character stronger, and you do level up in this game. And I feel like you level up by defeating bosses, because when I beat the boss, I did level up to level 2. I'm not sure why, because it didn't say we got any experience. It just say you leveled up, and I just felt like that should have even been the case. Maybe there's an item that you get that you could take back and maybe use it at the campsite to actually make your gear stronger. I wouldn't even level up the characters, to be honest, after a boss fight, because what's the point of that if you're not getting experience points? But I give it a 5.5, 5.5.
All right, and just to be clear, was that all the categories?
That's it.
Have we rate stuff on? Should we do like a presentation?
I thought presentation is one of them. Like, it's presentation, and then I'm in favor of gameplay with battles included in gameplay
and presentation. Mm-hmm.
And then I guess the overall would be the like average or whatever.
All right. So I don't want to drag this on too long. I know we're already at the 2-hour mark. We're at 6:11. Did you want to rank presentation like really quickly, or
I thought it had a good presentation. I thought it had a pretty good presentation, actually, and like I like the custom art and everything like that. It's presented well, but when you get into the weeds of it and the details of it, that's when it kind of falls down for me. But I actually think it's got a good overall presentation, and I would give that a 7.
What'd you think, D7?
Like I agree with Cychronic. When you look at the art and the tiles and the sprites, you feel like you're playing on the older machine. It does feel a lot of retro. So when you do play a lot of retro games, this is the style that you feel like those games were in. You know what I mean? Being honest. But they had limitations back then. These days we don't have those same limitations. We could go beyond and beyond now. So you can still make your retro aesthetic games, but more with a twist. You can make them better. But overall, I felt like the game presented itself pretty good. Some of the characters, I just don't understand how some of the characters, function. I just wish I had a little bit more backstory. But other than that, I think the game is showing you what the intentions is exactly. So I give them a 7.5, 7.5.
Yeah, and me personally, I was going to go with an 8 for presentation here. I think, it is retro. Yeah, it is simple, but they made a concerted effort to remove all, very many, like pretty much every instance of default from RPG Maker that I could decipher. I know some menus are simple and some menus are probably the same, like the combat, front view combat, the message at the top. Some of these things like are there, but that's Dragon Quest, right? This game has potential, in my opinion, to just pass as a game and not like an RPG Maker game, right? Like I think we from playing all the games and stuff like that, we know that distinction. But I have to give credit where credit is due. They they don't even look like they, bought some plugin and slapped it on so it can be some extra battle system or something like that. I did check they're using some of the, community plugins, but it just looks like a game, right? And I know some developers that work on games using very old engines on purpose because they do like the retro look. So there's a niche there. So I don't want to really penalize them.
And I like the retro look myself too. Yeah, I like it better than some of the newer looks. But that, it comes down to preference, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, like it's not even my preference, honestly. Like I said before, I like flashier. I like action sequences. I would prefer those. But this this dev's direction was, hey, let me make it so that people can sit on a bus and just solve a fight. And that's what it felt like to me. So if that's the case, yeah, straight up 8 for me. It looks like a game that could potentially be just a commercial game. Probably not the highest price commercial game, but flat out, like, yes.
I agree. I think it could go commercial as well. Like I would like to see it go commercial. I don't know what the dev is going to do with it, but it definitely has that potential to go commercial, and it should, to be honest.
Yeah, and I have a lot of interest, and the only, I guess I'm gonna go off on a little bit of a rant here about selecting this game in general. I have my own preferences. I have my own likes. And the only one that I think intersected with this game was the dungeon crawling. Other than that, like, I prefer, what's weird is, like, I'm an old school gamer, so I'm used to male protagonists. I'm used to, you can name your character, you're your own protagonist, because I'm a guy. If I play RPGs like Dragon's Dogma and such, that I create like a male. This seems to be like an all-female cast. To some extent, I don't even know, but I think I was able to dismiss a lot of my personal interests in order to just enjoy what the game was presenting to me. A lot of games is tough to do that, but this one I was able to, so I just wanted to point that out. Yeah. So I'm guessing that's it for this game.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think? I don't even know, because it's. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off. I know we usually like try to put a price tag on it, figure out like if it can go commercial and stuff like that. But I'm thinking like it's a demo, so it's probably not. It don't make sense to like do that unless.
I mean, we can. I mean, we have a feel what the game can be and how it's going to be. I mean, we put prices on demos before, so. I could start it off if this was a demo and stuff like that was going commercial. Not sure the direction where this developer is going. I would definitely, with the core mechanics, if the battles were, taken care of, where it's more of a traditional RPG. Instead of like some of the RNG with certain skills. $3.99.
All right. What do you think, Cychronic? Just to quickly run through. I already got my number in my head.
I don't think it's at the level of commercial yet, but I think it could be. If I were to purchase this as a full game with what I've seen in the demo, it would be $0. But if it was improved further, I could see it getting up to maybe 5, but that's not where it's at for me. So right now it would be 0.
Wow. Okay.
That is very interesting. So let me hit y'all with the money bag $sign that I was
$10.
That is exactly the number I was thinking for this game. I'm thinking $10 because you got characters.
Smokes.
Like I feel like now what's really carrying this number for me is the presentation. Like first and foremost, like I feel like, all right, we from the jump, somebody accused this game of having AI generated characters. Now it could, but that just attests to the sharpness of the characters being created.
They got
I
me
saw
there.
the developers Twitter, X, whatever. They do their own art. So I'm just like, if it's going to be like DWS me, it's probably 20% of the game. If this is 5 times more than that, I feel like somebody's going to buy this game for $10.
Yeah, I think so it would too. Yeah, but based on what I see, yeah,
because it's got the 3 character trifecta makeup, but it looked like you could potentially have unlocked the character at the end of that demo. After you beat the boss, there was some guy right there, right? Some character.
Yeah.
So that might be potential for swapping. I think that some of the surprises are interesting, and I think that I'm going with a lot of potential here because I'm just trying to do a calculation based on what is presented, and I think that the niche is there for people who like the simple retro, right? Like it's literally just try to survive the dungeon. You don't gotta grind to level 79 or anything like that. You just solve the puzzle, make it to the end, and it really feels that premium. Like somebody put that much effort into the presentation. It's going against some of these games that you see priced similarly. But I just think that's where my head is at, and that's just, it's weird because I don't usually think that high of a game. It's weird, right? But I think that's what I feel. I feel that. I smell it.
Will you play this over Final Fantasy?
Oh, I didn't say I would play it over. Which Final Fantasy? That's a big question, right? Like
Final Fantasy 8.
No. Final Fantasy 8 with the gunblade.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't play this over Final Fantasy with the gunblade. I would play this over so stop playing Dragon Quest games, and that's what it's giving me, those kind of vibes, right? Like the front view battle system, right? It's custom, right? Like the characters are present. I'm trying to sell this game. I don't know the developer, you know what I mean? Like, but the intentionality is there. It just feels there, and I think that goes a long way, right? Like, why make the corridors why even have the fog of war? Because you got that little creepy thing that's moving around trying to get you, and you can avoid it. The static enemies are there to block off certain paths so you can't venture further. Like it could use some good criticism. This game could use some criticism, because if it capitalizes on that criticism, then you got something that's like very fun. So that's kind of where my head is at with that. Like I said, it's not like it's only my cup of tea because of the dungeon crawling and the trifecta party that I do like. But other than that,
and also as a note, I don't like dungeon crawling. When I play RPGs, dungeons are the part where I'm like, I gotta do this dungeon so I can get to the next part. And but that's how it is for me. So I'm just letting you know that as my bias, dungeons. I don't like dungeon crawlers at all. So I'm trying to be as objective as I can with this game.
I love it. I love it. And I'm with you, Marlon. I mean, this game, it does set apart, and I'm wishing the developer to have a lot of success. I'm not trying to bash the game. My whole intention wasn't to bash the game. It just, I really felt very passionate with that boss fight and felt like, oh man, it's just, this is ridiculous. Maybe that's the intention. I don't know. But that's just how I felt personally. And I am a consumer, so I am always right with my opinion. It's my opinion. So that's the only thing. But I do wish the developer have a lot of success with this game. If you do go commercial, I do hope you sell lots of copies, just like I do with every game, because you can see the hard work behind this. You can see the effort. You can just see those things, the potential. And I just don't want to kill that for nobody. So I definitely do wish great success with this project. I would like to see it comes to the light of the day. honestly, and I am an honest person.
For sure. Well, if anybody's new here, they haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. We are broadcasting to Twitch and YouTube. We do appreciate everybody that does tune in. I think the feedback is really insightful. Hopefully, our feedback is insightful for the developers, and you guys continue to want to submit games for us to review. With that being said, I think you take us home, D7.
All right, guys, we really appreciate you, and like we already told you guys, we're preventing from ever having to cancel a RTP podcast episode, whether it's 2 of us, whether it's 3 of us, or 1 of us. You know, it's going to get done. But we are encouraging you guys, if you are interested of joining the podcast and maybe, you know, being a guest on an episode, let us know. And we encourage you guys to, if you are developers, you want to share your game, leave your game request form in our Discord. You'll be able to find the Discord link in the description and the about page of this channel. But other than that, we will see you guys next week.
All right, peace out, yo.